Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Force here, and in today's deck spotlight we will be taking a look at the Pyro-smith warrior deck. The strengths of this deck lie in board clearing, coming from the Pyromancer coupled with cards like Commanding Shout, some card and armor advantage through the Acolyte of Pain and Armorsmith, and then some surprising damage from the Frothing and Gurubashi Berserker. Let's go ahead and jump into a game to take a look at the deck in action.
Gorehowl versus Troll
for Doomhammer.
Alright, so there are quite a few very interesting combos within this deck. The Gorehowl is an amazing card, but there's no reason for us to have it so early. And actually, I might even drop this entire hand but the Battle Rage. We're going to drop this and hope to get a Pyromancer in the second draw here. And we got exactly that. Okay, that is fantastic. So the board clearing from this deck comes from Pyromancer coupled with other spells. And then on top of that, being able to use things like the Armorsmith and the Acolyte of Pain to get card advantage. It can be pretty ridiculous, and especially with a Battle Rage in hand, which you drop the Pyro-smith, you do mass damage by playing any spell, and then you toss down a Battle Rage to get huge card advantage for everything that you've done damage with on the Pyromancer. It can be pretty absurd. I played this deck quite a bit. This is actually a deck that got sent in by Maxodon, and I'd like to let you guys know that I'm going to start featuring community decks here in these deck spotlight videos. So if you have a deck that you think is especially strong, I definitely suggest throwing it my way, and we'll get it featured here on the deck spotlight. Okay, we're gonna actually pass the turn right now. There's no reason for me to be super aggressive. I want to buy time. I want him to play his creatures, and then I'm going to clear the board with the Pyromancer. I can do Pyromancer, which triggers off of a coin, and then I can follow that up with a Battle Rage, which will trigger the Pyromancer again. It's especially effective, though, if you use Pyromancer with a Commanding Shout, which makes it so that your minions cannot be reduced below 1 health, so you can keep dumping spells, doing mass damage, and your minions won't die that turn. Incredibly effective. We also have mass damage through the Abomination there. Just some decent creatures. The Arathi Weaponsmith is really nice because it gives you that weapon to pick off creatures in the early game. But early on, we're going to play this super passively. There's no reason to be more aggressive than we should. There's no reason to dump our creatures unless it's absolutely necessary. And that's exactly how we are going to play this game. And I apologize because I spent that entire time talking and didn't end my turn. Oh man, I tell you, when you make a video and you're focusing on chatting and trying to explain things, stuff like that definitely happens from time to time. I apologize to my opponent, if nothing else. Alright, we're going to see a Flame Tongue Totem in play. This is probably going to expedite my use of the Pyromancer combo. At the very least, though, I want to wait until... I guess I can do it turn 3. I can Wild Pyromancer, drop a coin, and then do a Battle Rage. If necessary. But honestly, at this point, I'm going to wait at least another turn. I want him to get some more stuff in play. I don't feel that I'm in super danger right now, so buying myself some more time isn't going to be the worst of things. I guess I could play this and try to force him to engage it. He's not going to have any weapons because he is a shaman. So yeah, this will give us something else to engage with. So we're going to play that, and then we're going to end the turn. And that sounds like a game plan to me. The other thing, too, is I'm going to be able to get extra card draw after doing Pyromancer, dropping the coin, and then doing the Battle Rage. Okay, so we're going to see a Rockbiter weapon here, which he will hit me directly with. I'm really see, this is a bummer. I was really hoping... Obviously, he's going to do mass damage to me here. But what I was really hoping was that he was going to play more creatures. Instead, he pumped up and made this one creature he has incredibly strong, and he just smacked me in the face very hard. However, I do not feel that the game is over yet. We will go ahead and drop our combo right now, and then we'll just take it from there. So here comes the Wild Pyromancer. In hindsight, would have been better last turn, but, you know, it was completely reasonable that he would have played 1 to 2 more creatures rather than hitting me with a Whirlwind, Rockbiter weapon, Frostwolf Grunt. But that's what ended up happening, and the way we're going to play this is we're going to drop the coin first, which will trigger mass damage, dealing 1 damage to everything. And then we will drop the Battle Rage, which will let me draw 3 cards, but it will also trigger mass damage again. Just like this. Now, we could also do a Whirlwind to finish off the totem, but I might want to just save it for whatever he may play, to be honest. So, that's it seems like a waste. Hopefully he can't heal this. We're going to end the turn right now. Hopefully he can't heal that. So that was a great example. That was a small scale example. That Pyromancer combo can be a lot more ridiculous than what you just saw. But we got just a basic little combo there. And right now, what we could do is I could Whirlwind plus execute him. We could also play... Actually, you know what? The better play right now might just be the Abomination. Just so he would have to push into it and would also kill that. The only thing I'd be worried about, though, is a Hex.
What now?
But let's give it a shot. Let's roll the dice, take a chance here, and throw down the Abomination. So if he attacks into it, it would also kill his thing. He's not going to attack into it if he can help it, and if he has a Hex, he will throw it down. Hopefully he does not have a Hex for this turn. Looks like he does. There it is. Well, at least it has Taunt, so he is not hitting me with his thing yet. And he drew into a Stone Claw Totem. Okay. So he will push into that right now with that. And then the turn will be tossed over to me. And let's see what we got. We have a second Execute. Wonderful. This is absolutely wonderful. I don't know that we need to use both. In fact, I'm pretty sure we do not need to use both. Now, what I'm going to do this turn, some more combo action. It shows you how this deck can be very interesting. We are going to first throw down... well, you know what? I kind of want to Whirlwind and then Execute. So, maybe I won't do that. Well, let's do this. Let's first throw down the Weaponsmith.
Try this.
And I should have done this first, but we're gonna then Whirlwind. I should have Whirlwind before the Weaponsmith. Then we're going to destroy that because it's damaged, and then we're gonna destroy his Taunt Totem, and then we pass the turn. Board clearing. This deck has a lot of it. Besides the Whirlwind and Execute, all those Pyromancer craziness makes for some intense board clearing. So at this point, we're just going to try to continue to keep ourselves up. We've got, 6 cards, now 7 cards in our hand, just pulling into the Gorehowl here, which we could drop this turn. We could also go with the Warsong Commander, plus one of these. Could throw down the Gurubashi Berserker.
What now?
How's about... Trying to think of the way I want to do this best. That's only 3 health. Alright, I'm going to go with this. We're going to go Warsong Commander. I will hit him. We will then destroy him. And then I will play this. Get another weapon. And then I will hit him. The reason I went for his creature is because we're more focused on board control, keeping his board clear, than we are focused on just going straight for him at this point. We're going to try to make it so that card advantage is what pulls it through for us. Unfortunately, though, we're at a point where we don't really have that huge advantage, because he's got almost just as many cards as I do at this point. But luckily, we still have another Execute, also sitting on a Frothing Berserker, which might be good to play this turn. And I can kill his thing without losing my creatures this turn, too. So let's see. That's going to be 3, 4, and then I'll have another 4. Three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm gonna hold off on that. I guess we'll hold off on that. Okay, so we're gonna go with the Frothing Berserker right now before we engage in any combat. Then we are going to place down a Commanding Shout so that our minions cannot be reduced below 1 health. So basically means they cannot die this turn. And then we will hit him with both of these. Our minions still live. And then we hit his taunt with this. As minions take damage, he continues to get pumped up, and now all of a sudden we have a great offensive creature for 6, and we can go ahead and armor up, and we didn't have to waste an Execute. So we can save this for eliminating future creatures. Excellent combos, very, very strong synergy in this deck. Now, this deck isn't winning quite as fast as other decks, but it's also much more safe. It's much more long-term. I'm still at 14 health, 12 plus the 2 armor, and my opponent's still at 24. But this is more of a slow roll deck, a overtime deck. You're not going to win within the first few turns at all with this deck. This is more, again, it's more of a long-term sort of thing. All right, well, our creatures still have haste because our Warsong Commander is still in play. So we're gonna be able to get rid of that. I can drop this down to heal up my guys. We've got 9 total. Could also Abomination, but not really want to using that. I don't really want to use that at this point in the game. So let's go ahead and actually do the Darkscale Healer. And then we have another 4 with which we can work. I guess that might just be some armor for me. Yeah, I think that'll just be some armor for me. We're gonna work our way through his taunt with this. Plus, I don't want these creatures to die. The only one I'd be happy with throwing away is the 3/3. And I want to get rid of his spell power. So we're gonna go with that. And then we're gonna hit him for 3. The slow roll, the long term, board control, card advantage, healing. It's a very cool deck. I got sent this deck the other evening through a Twitch chat, and I said, this is really very cool looking. And after playing it, it's a very fun to play deck. Again, it's much less aggressive than the other deck, Spotlight decks that we've looked at, but it's still, in my opinion, incredibly strong. If this is a deck you'd like to take a look at, I definitely suggest doing so. And don't worry, once we get to the end of this video, I will give you guys my deck list for the deck. It's the deck list that was sent to me with the exception of 1 card, basically, that I swapped out. And yeah, that's basically it. Okay, so it's our turn. We've got the Armorsmith. This plus the Acolyte of Pain, a lot of times I get it much earlier in the game, and it makes things much more interesting. So if you have an Armorsmith in play, and you Whirlwind, you get 1 armor for every friendly minion that gets hit. Very strong indeed. We could drop down a Gorehowl at this point. We could also go with the Berserker. I'm gonna hold off on the Gorehowl. We're going to go with Berserker, plus Armorsmith, and then an armor up. And how we're gonna roll this is I'm going to use the Berserker to hit his totem to pump him up for future turns. We are going to, let's see, his 3/3. It's rather interesting, actually. I might just trade, actually. We're gonna get rid of his 3/3. I am going to hit this. Now remember, every time our minion gets hit, we're getting armor too, which is effectively life in this game. I'm basically now at 20 life, is how it works. At least as of now, there's no spells or creatures that avoid armor, that pass through armor. There could be in the future, but as of now, in this game, there is nothing like that, so it's effectively extra health. So we just keep clearing his board, with the assumption that he's working with a lot of creature pump-ups. And we keep slowly chipping away at him, pushing up our armor, and doing that whole thing. And what I'll probably do next turn is I may hit him with a small creature and execute, or I just may Gorehowl and take the damage to the face but remove his 6/6 in the process. He's gonna Rockbiter Weapon himself. He's gonna hit one of my creatures. It's gonna be the charge. He has to get the taunt, actually. That's really funny. He's got no choice but to hit the taunt. That is perfect. And then we get armor because our creature took damage with the Armorsmith in play. And now this turn, we are totally going to do what I said I was going to do. We're going to Gorehowl, armor up, and then hit him. We'll take 6. That'll drop our armor down to 3. He gets dropped down. I'm gonna hit him with the Armorsmith. And then we're gonna hit our opponent. Right in the face. And that was a mistake because I could have killed him this turn if I had just avoided his creature. And I apologize, I was not paying attention. But in that situation, you should, if you were me, you should have attacked at him directly and would have just killed him outright. So now if we lose the game after this point, it's completely my fault. But I feel like we are in a pretty strong position. Even if he were to clear my board right now, I have an Abomination. So that, my friends, is the game. And this was a great example of how this deck plays out. You're not winning in the first 5 or 6 turns. You're not getting some crazy combos like you saw with the Rogue deck. You're not getting some crazy overwhelming numbers early on like you saw with a Murloc deck. But you know the funny thing is, this deck can handle those crazy aggressive decks like the Murloc deck because of the mass damage that you can get with Pyromancer, plus Commanding Shout, plus Whirlwind, plus a Fortune card, plus Battle Rage. It is pretty insane. Alright, now that we have taken a look at the Pyro-smith deck in action, I'd like to show you the deck list and just quickly touch on some of the stuff that you may have not seen in that particular game. So let's first go over the cards. We've got 2 Commanding Shouts, which makes it so that our minions can't be reduced below 1 health, 2 Executes to destroy any damaged enemy, Whirlwind for 1 damage to all minions, Battle Rage, draw a card for each damaged minion, the Acidic Swamp Ooze, which allows you to destroy an opponent's weapon, really good against rogues, really good against other warriors, really good against, gosh, what's the other one that can do it? Shamans can have weapons, and then of course there are the Paladins. So this is a nice card to have against those particular heroes. I guess this deck is especially weak, I was told, against the Rogue deck. It can still beat it, but it's its toughest matchup, and so this will really help against a Rogue as well. Armorsmith, whenever a friendly minion takes damage, you gain 1 armor. The Wild Pyromancer, our board clearer, and an unbelievable one at that. I'll go over some of the crazy combos you can do in just a minute. Acolyte of Pain, whenever this minion takes damage, draw a card. Great card advantage from that, as well as from the Battle Rage in this deck. The Warsong Commander for charge, absurd. The Frothing Berserker, whenever a minion takes damage, gains +1 attack. You can imagine that with combos like the Wild Pyromancer, like the Whirlwind, how big this thing can get. Any minion, not just your minions, not just this minion. Any minion pumps it up. The Arathi Weaponsmith gives you a weapon. You saw how effective that can be in the last game. It's good for helping you pick off creatures, to bypass creatures with taunt, or even just to get a little bit of extra damage through. Abomination, our third ability to do board clearing with mass damage once this thing dies, plus it has taunt, making it a very strong card. Darkscale Healer, because things can get a little scary in the early game, or after you do some ridiculous mass damage, like with the Abomination, things can get a little scary for you, and besides armoring up, having this healing is good. Also, the healing is great after doing a Wild Pyromancer plus Commanding Shout combo. When you're Wild Pyromancering to do mass damage all over the place, and Commanding Shout keeps your creatures alive, after that, the next turn, if you throw down the healer, you get your creature's health back up. Gurubashi Berserker, taking damage on a mass scale, pumps this thing up, or just direct damage from an individual unit. And then I've got some extra taunt in the Sunwalker, and then the Gorehowl for picking off creatures, an incredible card to do that. All right, so let's talk about some of the crazy combos. Focusing around the Wild Pyromancer for the mass damage. So if you go second and you get the Fortune coin, here's what you can do turn 6. And this has happened to me before, believe it or not. It's been unbelievable. So let's see, what was it exactly? So I believe it was I think I put this down early game. I was able to keep it alive. All right, so the Acolyte of Pain, it takes some damage, you draw cards. And then on maybe it was turn 5 or something, but if you get like a Wild Pyromancer plus an Armorsmith in play, and you can do a coin, will trigger, so you do Commanding Shout first, 1 damage to everything. You drop your coin, another 1 damage to everything. This is all from the Pyromancer. You drop the Battle Rage after your first 1 damage to everything with the Pyromancer. You draw a card for every minion that was hit. You can then throw down a Whirlwind, which will do 1 damage to all minions, plus also trigger the Pyromancer. It is unreal. It is absolutely unreal. If I can get some more games recorded showing you some of those combos, I might throw that stuff up on the channel just because it's so hilarious. Again, all of that mass damage, triggering things like the Frothing Berserker. Any mass damage you do will also trigger your Gurubashi Berserker once he is hit. And yeah, this is a strong deck. I definitely suggest if you've been struggling building a warrior deck, try to get your hands on something like or equivalent to this if at all possible. It just does very, very well. Substitutions can be made. Things like the Gorehowl aren't absolutely necessary. The Sunwalker isn't absolutely necessary. You know, if you don't have your hands on the Darkscale, actually that's an easy card to get. The Abomination, as great as it is, isn't absolutely necessary. This could be replaced with something else, you know what I mean? But there you go, that's a deck list. This is the Pyro-smith deck list sent in by Maxodon. If you would like your deck featured here on this deck spotlight, you can send it in to me. I'll provide you information in the video description below. Send in your deck list, tell me what it is, how it plays, and how you have done with it. basically what league you're in, how effective your win ratio is, stuff like that. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching. Once again, Force checking out the Pyro-smith Warrior deck here. Pretty solid, I must say. I really like this. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned in the future for more Hearthstone coverage right here on the channel. Keep watching and keep owning.